survive around 80 to 100 years. But after 80 to 100 years, it just doesn't produce coffee, so it is pretty much useless for us. Okay? Now, taking into account what I just mentioned about
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
taking into account what I just mentioned about the 16 years thing, we could guess the age of a plant. So this one over here, we already cut it. So 8 years at least. It's quite tall. 9 years at least. It is producing coffee. So 10 years at least. This plant is around 10 years old. It could be 10 years and a half, 11 years, but 10 years is the minimum. Okay? Now, as you might have noticed, we have different plants besides the coffee plant. We have banana for water, and then slowly spread out. Third benefit, everything that falls from here is going to work as natural compost. And the last one is that when we are in moment of harvest, this is going to turn very sweet because of the mucilage that you tasted before. So every single insect is going to attack the fruit. What we're going to do in that moment is that we're going to leave the banana in there to overripe. Then those insects are going to prefer the banana to the coffee because the banana is sweeter than the coffee. So it's going to work as a distraction. Of course, not every single insect is going to prefer the banana, but it's going to help a lot. Okay? Questions? No. Questions?
You?
No.
Okay lang kape guys. Oh, mubo. Pero dagkag bunga. Ah.
Can you remember
Tabi.
those names?
Tabi.
Tabi,
Economia.
Colombia,
Castillo.
Castillo, typical traditional. Excellent. We have that one over there, the fifth one. It's called Café Uno.
Senekapi ono.
Seni is the most difficult part to remember because Seni is not like a word that we will use here in Colombia. Café is, well, just coffee, and Uno, the number, 1. Okay, Café Uno. That one was created in a laboratory, and it has different advantages compared to the other ones. The first one is that this one is highly productive. So if you can see that one over there, for example,
Have the red.
a lot of beans already, and that one is only the first production of some of those plants. Okay. Second benefit, the fruit tends to be bigger and stronger. Third benefit, the plant is more resistant to la roya. La roya was the fungus that I explained before.
Yeah.
Fourth benefit, this one over here, even though it was created in a laboratory, is not going to change the flavor of your coffee. Because there are different plants that were created in a laboratory, but some of them change the flavor and the quality of your coffee. This one doesn't. Okay? And the last benefit is that this plant, it is only going to grow around 1 meter with 70 centimeters. So it's quite small compared to Castillo that can be 5, 6, 7 meters tall. Okay? And there is a very important, because as you might have noticed, we are now on a hill, right? On a mountain. The second thing is that here in Colombia, we collect the coffee with our own hands. By
Yeah.
hand. We don't use machines. Okay? And the third thing is that here in Colombia, most people are quite short. So if we have a plant of 1 meter with 90 centimeters,
We have a lot in the Philippines, the high coffee,
sorry?
the long coffee. In the Philippines, we have the,
Yeah, you have the big one. Yeah,
the long one.
Here in Colombia, for example, Castillo, that can be quite tall, but that one we just cut them down because it is just too difficult to collect
Yeah,
the coffee from it. Okay? Now, that's the difference between Brazil and Colombia. In Brazil, their land is quite flat. So they have one bush over here, another one over here, and a machine is going to pass and is going to collect the coffee. The problem with that one is that I can tell you, like, go there and bring me the red coffee. So you're gonna start selecting the coffee. The problem with the machine is that the machine doesn't care about it. The machine is going to take green, red, leaves, insects, and that is going to change, that is going to ruin the flavor of your coffee. Because if you have 10 red fruits and 5 green fruits, that is going to change, that is going to ruin the flavor of your coffee. Okay?
And the machine is very moved.
It
Yes,
shakes
yes.
the plant.
Yeah.
Okay? Then everything starts falling. Okay? Now, in Brazil as well, they produce Robusta because they don't have the altitude. Brazil and Vietnam produce Robusta. Okay? And there's the second reason of why some people believe that Colombia produces one of the best coffee. The first one is because we only produce Arabic.
Yeah.
And the second one is because of the level of selection that we have in the whole country. Not only in this farm, but in the whole country. Of course, that doesn't mean that the coffee from Brazil is bad. It's just that some industries, they're going to make the process of selection after the machine does the job. But not all of them are going to do the same thing. And we will collect if we started to collect the coffee with the machine, we will just send the coffee as it is because well, who cares? We just make a lot of money from it, and that's it. Okay? Question. Supposed to provide shade, to absorb water, something, right? This plant over here is called papyrus, and it's the plant that people from Egypt used to use to create paper. Okay? Do you know what the purpose of this plant in this place might be?
No.
Spoiler alert, is not to create paper. Okay. To scare? No.
Take some water.
No. No. Well, it's because most people like this plant. They take pictures of it, and that's it. The purpose of this plant in this place is decoration. Okay? That's why we have it just in this place, not anywhere else in the farm. Just in this. Okay? But we are only going to collect the coffee in 2 moments of harvest: April and May, and October and November. The first one is the best one. Why? Because we're going to collect a lot of coffee from it. The second one is not that good because we are only going to take the coffee that we didn't take the first harvest. Okay? So let's say that we are now on May, and every single fruit over here is red, except this one, and that one over there. Those are partially green, partially red. So what we're going to do is that on May, we're going to take every single fully red bean, fruit, and those that are partially green, partially red, we're going to leave those to take on October and November. So the quality is going to be the same. The quantity is the one that is going to change a little bit. Okay? Now, as you can see, we have different plants. About that is that, as you can see, we have different fruits that are already red. And you're not supposed to take them. Why?
Yeah.
Because if we start
Still not
taking
ready.
the coffee, the red one that we see on January, February, March, we're going to stress out the plant. And if we stress out the plant, the coffee production of that plant is going to stop. Okay? There was the ripe on the right months, so they start ripening later.
Okay.
And now just because they don't want to waste coffee, they just start taking it.
Okay.
But it's not what you're supposed to do. Okay? Now, the flower of the coffee plant, most of them die already.
Yeah.
That flower is a very important flower. It is usually 5 white petals, 6, 9, but usually 5. The smell of it is quite like jasmine. Okay, that flower is a very important flower. If you see it over there, which I don't think so, you can take a picture of it. Okay, because in 2-3 days it's gonna be dead. Okay.
It's very smell. It's very good smell.
Yeah, it's quite like jasmine here. Now, that flower is a very important flower because for every single flower that you see, a new fruit is gonna be born from it. From the flower to the red fruit is gonna be around 8-9 months. That flower you can usually see it. So on May you're gonna collect the coffee. Then you're gonna wait 2 months. In 2 months, that will be July, you're gonna see the flowers. Then in that moment you're gonna count 8-9 months. So August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, and April. So the flower that you saw on July, that is going to be the fruit that you're going to collect the next year on April and May.
So at some point, all of these was for flowers.
Yeah, on July there were a lot of flowers. Okay, not all of them. It's not like all of these was flower, but most of them were flowers. Now that flower is gonna be pollinated by bees, maybe.
So it's like an ant.
It's like
Ant.
maybe.
Black ant.
Maybe. Well, that flower is an hermaphrodite flower, which means it's going to make its own process of pollination until 70% of it. The other 30% of it is going to be butterflies and other type of insects. Okay? But it's going to make its own process of pollination pretty much on its own. Okay? do the tour, you drink coffee, all of that. You can go down there, you can take pictures of it, you can see if you want. And down there, you're gonna find the last variety that we have in this place. It's called geisha. Geisha like a Japanese girl. Okay? Geisha is a premium plant. The flavor is quite different. It tends to be better, it tends to be sweeter. And the price is quite different as well. The coffee from that plant tends to be quite expensive in Colombia, so you can make a lot of money with that plant. The problem with that plant is that it's very delicate, so every single disease, every single fungus is going to destroy that plant. So if you plant 400 of those and you don't pay too much attention to them, 100 of them are going to make it, 200 of them are going to make it, the rest are going to die. Okay? In this place, we only have 100 of those because we are just trying to see how it goes and we're just tasting. In this moment, it is only a colino of 8-9 months. Okay? Now, you came here on the jeeps. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So the jeeps are going to be out there on the main road every single hour, halfway up to the clock. So 1:30, 2:30, 3:30, and so on and so forth. So if you decide to go down there, you can stay as long as you want, but keep in mind the schedule of the jeeps. Okay? Questions? Everyone. Okay? The purpose of this machine is going to be to separate the skin of your coffee from the seed. Okay? So what you did with your own hands before, this machine is going to do it easier, faster, and pretty much better. Here, the skin is over here. Yeah, okay? Yeah. So after we do this, we're going to leave those seeds in there for 12 to 14 hours. In that period of time, the process of fermentation is going to be completed. Then we're gonna add water, and the bad beans are gonna float. The good ones are gonna remain at the bottom. Bad beans because there was an underdevelopment of the fruit, an overdevelopment of it, or because there is an animal that is called la broca. La broca, what it's going to do is that it's going to make a small hole inside the coffee, and then it's going to eat up the coffee from inside. Okay, the coffee is going to swallow go. Then we're gonna take all the coffee and we're gonna throw it to the compost. But the big industries, they're going to use that coffee to make something that is called pasilla. Okay? And I'll explain you what pasilla is. Then with the remaining coffee, we're going to wash it and wash it and wash it to remove the mucilage. The mucilage was the thing that you tasted before, and the thing that got fermented.
Yeah.
Just cut out that. We're going to take all that coffee and we're going to put it over here. We're going to start moving it, moving it. The good high quality coffee is going to fall off. This is the one over there. The bad one remains on top because of the size of it. So this is the one over here. So we can cook with the one that remains on top of the machine. The one that floated, which is this one over here, we're going to use as compost, but the big thing is they're going to make pastilla. Okay? The supermarket store here in Colombia and you buy coffee, this is the coffee that you're buying. Why? Because they all good quality coffee, we're going to export it. The bad one stays here in Colombia. Okay? Why? Because the one over there is expensive than this one. Okay? So if you go to Salento, you might be able to find mostly the good one because well, we have the farm, you know. But if you go to probably Cali, Barranquilla, you're gonna find usually this one over there. Okay? Now, can you take one of those beans over there?
You get Andy one.
All of you.
Just.
Now, of course, we already have machines and everything to do this process, but today we're going to be using our hands. We're going to put it over here, close it, okay? Let's remove it. You should be able to remove that shell over there. Okay? So the first layer that is going to protect the coffee is the one over there, the red one. The second one is the mucilage, the thing that you tasted before. The third one is this one over here. It's called terp. And the last one is this one over here. As you can see, there is still like a remaining thing attached to it.
Yeah.
That one is called cuticula. Okay? But with the cuticula, we are not going to do anything because the cuticula won't affect the flavor of your coffee. And at the moment of roasting, most of them are going to disappear or they're just going to fall off on its own. Okay? Now, something very important is that in order to roast those beans, they need to contain between 10 to 12% of humidity inside of them. The way to identify, to find the level of humidity inside the beans is going to be with a machine. We have a machine, we're going to put the beans in in there,
Sure.
and then 10%, 11%, 12%.
I'm not sure your face, just coffee.
Nowadays it's quite easy, it's quite accurate. A couple of years ago it was more like, well, we're gonna leave the coffee in those in places like that with the sun, and that was it. In 2, 3, 4 days. Nowadays we're gonna do something very similar. We're gonna leave the coffee like that, the sun, 2, 3, 4 days. But now we're gonna use the machine to make sure that those beans contain between 10 to 12% of humidity inside of them.
Change the flavor?
Otherwise, the flavor is going to change a little bit. It's going to take longer to roast the coffee. And
Because
different.
it's not that as dry as it should.
Now, we're gonna take those beans. We're gonna call it the almond of the coffee. Okay, we're gonna put it over here. Now, there are 4 different levels of roasting: the low one, the medium high, and the high one. The one that we're going to be using for the pasilla is the high one. Why? Because since that coffee tastes so bubbly, what we want is to burn the coffee. Once you burn the coffee, you're going to hide the bad flavor of that coffee. That coffee is going to taste bitter, stronger, because the higher the level of roasting, the bitter it is the coffee. The lower, the acid it is the coffee. Here in Colombia, with the good high quality coffee, we're going to be using the medium one. Why? Because we want a balance between those two flavors. What happened, the thing is that if we send this coffee to a place like Italy or France, they might use the high one, because to them, a good coffee is a strong coffee. Okay? Here in Colombia, it's more like a soft one. Now, there are of course machines and everything, but today I'm going to explain the traditional method, the one that our grandmother or grandfather used to use a couple of years ago. This one is the traditional method. There are of course machines that are more sophisticated and accurate, but this one is the one that I'm going to explain today. The only things that we need to roast the coffee with this method are something like this to move the coffee. This that needs to be hot, always really hot. And this one over here, the almond. You don't need to add water or oil, anything like that. And you're gonna start moving it and fire, of course. You're gonna start moving it and moving it and moving it for around 18 to 20 minutes. In that period of time, you're gonna get to the medium level. Also, you can hear a crack, like with the popcorn.
Yeah.
The coffee is gonna make a similar sound. In that moment, you can say, oh well, this is the medium level of it. And also, you can see the change of color. So, in this moment, they are quite green and gray thing. But then it's gonna be yellowish, then brownish, then brown. The problem with